Right then, this is a 58 keys 3 biscuit guide, which means one topic covered at a little length, but intended to be all you need to know about it in one place, and during which we're allowed to eat biscuits as a side point. I know. Okay. This time, though, when you and I had, well, actually, no, not when you and I are done, when we're halfway through, 3/4, maybe, you will know everything that I believe I've learned about being a writer making YouTube videos. But obviously there are better YouTube makers than me, people who for some reason aren't writers. I don't know why. So just in case you found this in a search for how to make YouTube videos, let me do this really quickly. 4 things. If your interest is in the equipment used to make videos, I mean, you'll see what I use as we go along, but if you want to know about drones, multiple cameras, everything really, then please watch this video by Christian Schaefer. Also, actually, frankly, even if you have no interest in making videos, watch her anyway, because her photography is just mesmerizing. More for a kind of quick, practical turnaround side. I don't tend to watch this channel a lot, but whenever I need to know how to do something, I go to here, Primal Video. Filming, lighting, using your phone, all important sound stuff as well. They cover everything. Stepping back a little bit into more general bits, there's Mary Spender. She's a musician, but she sometimes reviews Macs, but she has a particular video that I'll link to about the use of music in videos. I don't tend to do that myself, but she covers what you can and what you can't do, what costs what, and in her case, this is what I found so interesting, what she earns and what she does not earn from her music online. And then lastly, possibly a bit too specific, I edit constantly on Final Cut Pro for the Mac, and Jen Yeager's videos, they've taught me more than most. Okay, so 4, I think, highly recommended things about learning how to make YouTube videos. But you and I are writers. If you don't already know everything about YouTube, I would like you please to see what I think we can get from this, what writing skills we have that we can use, what writing lessons we can actually learn from doing this. So in a moment, everything I know, fine. Then actually, if you want to stick around for the end of it, you and I are going to make next week's 58 Keys episode together. But before we even consider filming or topics or what YouTube does or doesn't require, what YouTube does or doesn't give you, we need to decide, as writers, is it worth our time and effort making YouTube videos at all? Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is 58 Keys, which as always, is for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads, the whole lot of them. Do subscribe or support 58 Keys on Patreon too, because there's so much to talk about. And actually, right now, I'm kind of about 3 years into making YouTube videos. I could bore for England on the topic, and I think I possibly have. I'll be quick with you. Okay. Starting with this business, this most important business of whether it's worth you or I actually making videos at all. Let's do it this way. Here is why you should not make YouTube videos, okay? It takes time away from your writing. I mean, sometimes, a lot of time, especially when you're starting out and figuring out what you want, but then also later when you find you've really got into it. For one example, there's a new 58 Keys video every Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time, and has been now for over 3 years or something, uninterrupted. I could have spent that time, surely I could have spent that time writing something else. Bet you I wouldn't though. And as for the time it takes up, well, let's work it from the other end. The duration of an episode. I don't know the average length of a 58 Keys episode, but it's probably around 10 minutes. I mean, some are really short, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Quite a few nudge into the teens. And then there are 3 Biscuit guys like this, longer form videos, necessarily longer form videos. With, I think, the longest one to date being one about pages, which comes in at 1.5 hours. My throat after all of that. But funny enough, that's been one of the most popular videos I've done. Also up there in reasons not to do this. I think we'll come back to time and how long it takes to make a 10 or a half hour thing in a bit. But this is on my mind now to say to you, because I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. You may very well not like being on camera or being on microphone. Let me be really clear here. I do really like that this is you and me talking face to face. But the real reason that you see so much of me on my videos is solely because I'm cheap and available. Yeah, no, you don't need to agree quite so quickly. Listen, I know very many writers on YouTube who choose to stay off camera and instead do a voiceover with various things like a series of photographs, maybe even animations and things. Okay, it's up to them, it's up to you. I offer that it's not done for a good reason. It's done from a not wanting to be on camera rather than a wanting to do a voiceover. And I think it also puts a distance between us. I mean, overall, I think that YouTube videos, they have to be useful or I am totally wasting your time. But if this were a straight information delivery mechanism, well, then you'd be better off and it would be much quicker to read my script, to read the show notes, to find an article on the subject. If the value of YouTube has to be information, I think the worth of it has to be this connection, you and me, getting to talk. And I don't like anything that puts a distance between that. Anyway, one more reason for you not to make YouTube videos. I want to phrase this very carefully. It can get expensive. It does not have to. You can shoot videos on your phone, and actually I'm doing that right now. But even I do tend to use two phones at the same time. Over the years, I've bought lights as well, which weren't especially expensive, and I've tried various microphones which were a bit. Actually, you can go very far down this line, and I think you're at risk, definitely not of needing to, but definitely of wanting to. Actually, maybe you shouldn't watch Christian Schaefer's video. I came away with kind of technology lust. So I think anyway. All right, so definitely time is an issue for not making it. Certainly face on camera could be. Possibly the cost of equipment when you get into it. These are all reasons for why you, specifically you, should not make YouTube videos. 3 guesses. What's next? I'm not actually talking about the subject of YouTube videos. I mean, I'm a writer, so my YouTube video channel is about writing. It's also, it's for writers who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads. It's quite a specific little niche that happens to be a niche that I think I know about. It's certainly a niche I love. And YouTube in general tends to like niches. So when you're looking for something to make videos about, a topic that's quite small, but also has endless possibilities. Small and endless. Good luck finding it, but when you do, you'll know. It should also be something I think that you like, because otherwise you are going to get very sick of it, no matter how successful the channel is. And I would suggest, if you weren't a writer, I would stop there. Make it something you like so you won't get too bored of it, ever. But since you are a writer, try to find a topic for a YouTube channel that has at least some connection with your other writing, so that when it comes up and you want to talk about your new book or something, it's relevant, it fits. We need it. It's not a technical thing, it's an editorial thing, I suppose it's a marketing thing, but we need to be aware of it. I spent a long time narrowing down what I wanted to do on this channel, and it has changed over time. Nobody glues you to a particular thing. It develops and it improves, but spend the time thinking about it before you start thinking even about whether you can film it on your phone or not. And actually the answer is yes, you can. Given that you have something to say, you've got a phone, the reasons to make YouTube videos, you can also use the cameras in MacBooks as well. Tend to be not as good as phones, but there's a YouTube called iJustine who's very successful with it, and she started off doing that. Why shouldn't we? Reasons, right, for making YouTube videos, and this is going to be quite personal to me, but we're both writers again, so I think at least it's likely that at least some of what makes me want to do this may be a good thing. It may work for you as well. And I suppose a big thing is it does give you a new audience. I've actually been directly hired for work because of this channel. I've been hired to run workshops on making YouTube videos. Actually, it was shocking how fast the first one happened. It was so early on in the channel. I had to race. I said, yes, of course I can do it. How much is it? Yes, I can do that. I had to race to learn enough to be able to tell anybody anything. I got better at it. I think I've done 4 or 5 full-day YouTube workshop sessions now, and they paid very well. Company that hired me to do it had its funding removed, or I'd be hopefully doing it again. I'm still doing it occasionally. Just recently, I worked with a group of writers. We share information. I did them a free webinar chat about the editorial side of this and a bit of the technical as well. Anyway, I think ultimately what we all want as writers, yes, we need to be paid just to survive and to get to carry on writing, but beyond practical necessities, what I think we ultimately want is a connection. One writer, one reader, one viewer, one listener, one-to-one connection. And YouTube videos can do it. In fact, actually, it is my favourite thing that YouTube is able to do. I mean, when else, how else would you and I get to talk like this? Next, and possibly very specific to me and my writing needs, I started this whole channel because I'm a script writer and I need to write scripts. I identify as a script writer, but I'm not actually getting enough work consistently in writing scripts. I wanted to keep doing it, so here I am. I'm now writing a script every week. I'm writing it to be produced, and I believe that that makes a difference. I believe that means I'm learning a lot. But back to a kind of more general, wide writing point. When you write videos for YouTube or anywhere else, you are communicating just as you are with any writing. Of course you are, you know this. But there is that extra pressure to be concise. Okay, I seem to be fine at ignoring that at times. I ignore that pressure, but it is there, and I think it's good for us. Then when you've written a video and when you've shot it, you need to edit. And editing, it is gloriously absorbing and fulfilling and so tedious at times. In that video I mentioned, the one Kristen Schaefer about her technology and stuff, she also talks about how she makes those just remarkably beautiful videos. And she mentions a couple of times that she might shoot around 20 hours a video to make one 10 to 15 minute video. I'm such an amateur compared to her. I'm not sure I know enough to make a direct comparison between the amount of footage in her video work compared to mine, but I can say this actually, the fastest I have ever gone from an idea to uploading a finished edited 58 keys video is 90 minutes. Start to finish, hour and a half, written, filmed, edited. I was so smug that week. And then the very next week was that 90-minute video about pages. And I reckon now it's a bit of a blur, and I'm trying to figure out at least 30 hours. It could have been 40. I do remember so clearly one night being around 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was doing a thing across all of it, adding certain captions and changing certain stuff. And I reached the end of the video, but I also knew I had to go back to the start again to do a whole nother pass on something else. It might have been 2 passes, and you have that satisfaction of reaching the end. It's like when you watch a progress bar and then suddenly it resets and it's doing something else again. Very bleary-eyed that time, but kind of satisfying as well. After you've done that a couple of times, you do learn to make simple videos, and sometimes in quite a hurry. But sitting there at your machine, I was going to say your machine, preferably your Mac, but you can video edit on iPads and even iPhones. Okay, you're no longer writing anything. Okay, you don't have pen and paper. You aren't typing dialogue for scripts. But I suggest that actually you are writing. You're thinking still about, is a point, has it been conveyed? You think, is it communicated the way you want? You're thinking pace, rhythm, surprises. You're thinking about keeping a viewer interested and keeping watching. Every bit of that uses, I think, every writing muscle in our head. Do we have muscles in our head? It's always in the writing, in the doing things like that we get better at writing. Well, certainly I do. Certainly I believe I get better from writing, and then from this type of video writing, this editing if you like. That learning and that improving of my writing and the getting to talk to you, that is why I make a YouTube video series as a writer. But I do also get paid. So, yeah, no, I like getting paid. But if that is why you're thinking of making a YouTube video, I think you probably should look for somebody, watch some videos by people who are better than I am. I mean, I do now have a regular income from this channel. It's small, but it's regular. Actually, you know, as a freelance writer, anything regular is gold. Because knowing that if I do this, I will get that every month, it frees me up. Only a little, but it frees me up a little to pitch for other work, to look further ahead down the line instead of firefighting. It gives you a bit of room to breathe, really. So it's not the constant freelance life of how am I going to eat today? What can I write today to get? So I can think longer term and plan. Most of the money I get, by the way, comes directly from YouTube advertising. In order to have that, you have to have over 1,000 subscribers to your channel, and your videos have to be watched for more than 4,000 hours in the last year. Do that and you qualify for advertising. You qualify for it, you may not want advertising, and you mostly don't have to have them. I did a workshop on this for an organisation that I can't actually name, but very good organisation, and they won't allow ads on their YouTube channel because they're really careful about who they are associated with, and you have no control over what adverts YouTube puts on your videos. I told them, and I should tell you, YouTube recently started putting ads before videos even when the channel is not eligible for advertising. For that organisation, I was working on their whole library. I did various things to about 80 or 100 videos, something like that for them. And during that process, YouTube twice put an ad in front of one of them. Anyway, the organisation got nothing for that. I'm less concerned than they are about who advertises on my channel because, you know, this is the way ads work, is they're matched up to the audience for it. What is the audience of this channel most likely to buy? And actually it's more specific than that. It's about you. It's about the audience and what else they have watched, what they tend to go for, how long they last in a particular type of video. So everybody's different, everybody sees different ads. When I watch a video of mine back, I tend to see a lot of ads for chocolate. I have no problem with that. Even though I do, therefore, as you see, take adverts on this channel, I can actually say, no, this video or that one will have no ads. Unless YouTube pulls that fast one and slips in an ad anyway, there will be no ads in those videos, and I do that. Actually, that's exactly how I do the ad-free version of every 58 Keys episode on Patreon. Those also go up a little early as well, which wrecked my so carefully worked out production schedule, but it's fun. There you go. You can go to more specific. You can say, all right, I'll have ads, but they should be skippable or not. You can say you want them at the start or the end. YouTube's starting to force ads at certain points. But the key one that if you do this you'll get attracted to is that YouTube promises to let you precisely position adverts, I mean down to the frame, down to the 24th of a second, and you're a writer, you see structure, you're thinking, oh, you could, and I used to do this, find just the right spot in the video and say, there, right there, put the video there, the advert just here. And every single time YouTube ignores you completely. I mean, it might be roughly where you said you wanted it, but so roughly, it's impossible to do a proper, neat ad break. They just wallop in mid-sentence, don't they? Very frustrating. What I tend to do now is just whatever. Let YouTube do what it's going to do, because it mostly will. Anyway. Except I do actually keep an eye on it. I do watch the videos back once they're out, because very, very early on, I had quite a short video. I think 6 to 7 minutes, certainly no more than that. And for some reason, YouTube put 5 ad breaks in the YouTube. I remember getting complaints, somebody telling me I was greedy putting all those in. I didn't know until it happened. The person was right that it was unwatchable, actually, and I've been worrying about that ever since. And that actually, when that happened, is when I started trying to be precise. Didn't work, but actually, anyway, things seemed to be better than they were. Although actually, I have noticed in the last month, so maybe 2 months, on anyone's videos that I'm watching, YouTube's developing a habit of putting an ad in really soon after the start, and I find that quite aggravating. But like I say, you can say no. And if you can't control where YouTube puts its adverts, you can actually control your videos in general. You can do things to make your video hopefully work so that people will come back after the advert or will patiently wait for the skip button. Let me please tell you a few things. I'll tell you them quickly, and they're things I think are important that I've learned about how to make a video. I believe I've learned them. Most of them I learned from YouTube, but I've been doing other videos for a while. I think they're things that make a difference. Let me tell you those. Yeah, first, I tried to film this to show you as an example, and I could not make myself do it. But I'll describe it and you'll recognise it. You've seen it, and I've seen it a lot. And actually, the very first video work I did, I was training people how to shoot videos for a BBC Worldwide.
It's been a night like no other. David Tennant, surprisingly, on a few covers, which was nice for him because he doesn't get the exposure that he should.
It was nice because we've never been on it before. Not everyone can be David Tennant.
They would shoot video, right, where they were, let's see, they were dead centred in the frame, okay, but their eye line was as well. Their eye line was right in the absolute centre of the frame. They were centred vertically, which would mean they were shooting it so you got their face fine, but also 17 miles of wall above them. I mean, and it was never really a fascinating wall. I don't think you're surprised. Think about it in advance. Frame yourself well. You notice I am off centre. I'm quite close to the top. Sometimes I'll cock it up completely and the top of my head will get cropped off. It's never intentional. It's never great. But I would take that over a wallpaper fetish any day. So actually part of this second, your iPhone's video camera, it comes with a grid. If you place yourself so your face is about this point, have I got it right today? Or over on the opposite side, wherever the grid line crosses, it just seems to look better. Next, speaking of looking, look at the camera lens, not off to the side because you're watching a display of yourself. Drives me spare. Another one, landscape. This way, not that way. Landscape, not portrait. Portrait looks great on your phone when you're recording it and nowhere else ever. If you must shoot portrait for social media, well, shoot landscape and then you can have both. You know, you can crop in to make this dreadful prison bar like shaped shot. There's an artist I like called Dar Williams, and she set loads of videos and most of them were portrait. There were videos of her working in her house, and there was something about the fact that you were looking through this narrow gap. It seemed a bit, I mean, she had a piano. It wasn't doing anything untoward, but you felt voyeuristic somehow. And then she did one that was landscape, and you felt welcomed for it. It's an emotional difference as well as just an irritating one that people are going to have to fill in the sides with black bars and blurs and things. Yeah. Shoot in landscape, and you can, if you must, crop through. Shoot in portrait, and you're stuck with that forever. Next, sound. From video to sound. If your sound isn't right, your video is not watchable, no matter what it is, no matter what shape it is. And actually, this is a recurring problem for me. And even today, knowing I wanted to talk to you about this, my audio has to be a bit of a lash up. I mean, I like this microphone, but I must avoid turning my head away too much. I also like this Bluetooth microphone. I'll show you a shot of that because I seem to have mislaid it again. It's so fiddly, it's so small, I keep losing it, but also it's just so prone to going wrong that I'm frankly entirely unsurprised that I couldn't get it working this morning, and then I probably went afterwards. I'll find it later. Here's the thing. I presume actually this is a case of do as I say, not as I do. We went from video to sound. I want to go back to video again for a second. Make your videos visually interesting. Of all the 58 Keys videos I've done, I found that hardest today, right now, in this video about videos. trying to make it so that it isn't just me in shot all the time. You know, at the start there, I played you 4 YouTube channels, clips of 4 YouTube channels that I think make better videos than I do. I could have just told you about them. I could have just shown a link on the screen, couldn't I? But instead, I chose to play a little of them, primarily because it meant you had something else to look at instead of my gob. Okay. You can go too far with this, by the way. You can go way, way too far. And you can start buying in video clips that, well, I presume because you've spent some cash on it and you don't want to waste that, you start overusing, you throw them in everywhere. 3 video clips per sentence, silly animations, stock footage that might just sort of a bit fit what you're talking about, but you've already used that same shot 17 times. I was watching something last night and this YouTube video, I realised he does this so often. He has stock footage and he uses it over and over again. Last night's video, I was watching it, it's the same piece of stock footage within about 45 seconds of having previously used it before. And I'm out of the story when you say that. You're noticing the process, the production, and I'm gone. We have an advantage. Well, I have an advantage here with 58 keys. With you and me on this channel, it's you. What I'm usually doing is trying to show you something like an app or a service. So I do. I'll have screen recordings of whatever I'm showing, and I like those a lot. Sometimes, actually, I will repeat those. But what I will do is, it's my own footage. I made it for the episode. I'll show you the overall screen so you can see where to go to do something, but then I'll zoom in so you can see that feature in close-up, like a menu or a particular tick box or something. What I don't tend to do, but I like doing, is I don't shoot a lot of B-roll, background footage for it. Whenever I can, you bet I do. So, for example, I did a video once about the Kindle Scribe, and it occurred to me that it might be useful. I filmed me opening the box. Not exactly the most thrilling footage, but while I was wibbling on about the device later, well, you could watch a few seconds of that here or there. It just broke things up visually. Also, I once tried this. We were able to do it together and with other people at the same time. So I'm here in my car in the cold. You're, ooh, nice spot. But between us, maybe we got 5 friends across 3 different bars, 2 different continents, and we can all pile into the same thing at once. Can't decide if that's good or bad. I mean, I'm trying to make a note here, and some fellas from another country scream, no, that's not how you spell myriad. Well, it is. I'm sure it's useful, collaborating. Cutting between me doing the same thing in different places, cutting practically in mid-sentence. I got that idea from Mary Spender, by the way, who did it on one of hers, and well, to be frank, she did it better. I mean, she did it better technically, but I also thought it suited her, and it suited what she was talking about at the time. I thought in my case it was a bit forced. Plus, it takes so long to do, which is another factor. These little extras can take a lot of time. I did a visual gag once. It took me an hour to film something that ended up being 7 seconds of the video. I thought it was worth it though. Right then, make YouTube videos to reach and to connect with new audiences, get your sound right, don't shoot in portrait, try to make it visually interesting, and don't hide your face behind animations. That'll do. There is also how you edit videos, which is a topic all by itself and would expose my limitations. There are things like how do you upload to YouTube and what you write, like the descriptions and the titles and the show notes, but you've got all this. Now you know everything I know about making YouTube videos as a writer, and again, underlined, as a writer. I think you also now know whether you want to do this too or not. You know whether it's worth your time, worth your effort or not. I would like to just say one more thing about this as writing. I like the discipline of writing and making a video every week, uninterrupted, for 3 years. It's actually very satisfying. It's as satisfying, and I think it's as useful to me as a writer as when I had at one point in my career, I had 3 columns across BBC News, BBC CFAX and Radio Times magazine. The constant pressure to deliver it, to be interesting in it, hopefully working, it was very, very good for me as a writer. But anyway, unless you would like to see next week's 58 Keys episode being made, I mean, it's not going to take long, but take a while, we are actually done. We're good. Thank you very much for watching. Bye. but I'm looking forward to showing you this. Let's go make a video, okay? I have a spreadsheet. I think of it as a schedule spreadsheet, but it actually includes a lot of possible topics and maybe some rough dates when we're done, maybe not. And then at some point they go up into spreadsheet and they become scheduled, they become aired, and some text there. Yeah, you'll notice there's a lot of duplication now. I do a fractionally different ad-free version of all of these videos for Patreon, and they're scheduled for the day before the regular one. But still, every entry there, it's date, title, description, and links. And this schedule, it starts because I put the ideas in there, but then it tends to be the last thing I do. Whereas the first thing, when I've decided which ideas I'm going to do next, is that I run this shortcut. It asks me the topic, then it creates a bunch of folders there, and the script, the start of the script. It also figures out the next episode number for me, and I know this is going to sound silly, but I cannot tell you how important that is. I went away on a holiday, and in order to do it and have the uninterrupted episode every week, I had to make 6 at once to be sure I was far enough ahead. And this number that was created automatically for me is how I kept them straight in my head. Number everything. As I record things, I put a number on. Last week's 58 keys, for example, it had 9 files for me to remember and to put in the right places in the video. And the week before had 64. I do also, as part of this process of getting everything ready, I take the time to divide up anything I record, audio, video, still photographs. That assets folder contains the main video and the audio of me. Then B-roll has any other shots, like that unboxing. Don't tend to do much of it. Screen recordings gets very full with those shots of a Mac or an iPad or an iPhone screen. And I think 40 of those 64 the other week were in this section. And then there's stills, which is where... well, I could just show you something with a single image, or maybe it's an app icon. And also, YouTube needs a thumbnail poster. When I'm finished with that, I put those in here too. But anyway, all of these folders created for me automatically by shortcuts and an Omni outliner document prepared for the script. I do script write every edition that isn't an interview with somebody. I also get criticised actually for script writing these. I do like the fact that I get criticised only after I have told people that I write these. Up to then, well, they haven't commented. I believe they haven't noticed. But then after I've said it, well, it's then, well, of course we noticed. And YouTube should not be formally written. Yeah, up to you. Write a script, talk off the top of your head, whatever works for you. For me, I wanted to script write. I like script writing. And for me, the important thing is that despite some appearances, I want to get as much information into these videos as I can. I don't ever want to waste your time. Pack it with as much detail as I can. And the way I do that is that I write the script. Plus, this is possibly unfair of me, but I do know people who say they don't need a script because they're just naturally so good at talking off the top of their head. No one who has actually told me that turns out to be good at it. None of them. I mean, others are. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you're boasting that you can, if you're certain that you can talk about a topic off the top of your head, well, be very certain, would you? And with all that said, anyway, move on. All of these folders created as well. Next week's 58 keys turns out to be a series of 5 iPad tips for writers. I think that's an interesting topic. I think it's useful. And 5 just feels like a good number, doesn't it? Yeah, like it's not 1 and I'm wasting your time. It's not 10 and you've got to scroll through. 5 is good. In that process, I'll start by writing, of course, and I'll start by making notes on ideas for it. In this case, things I know that aren't that commonly used, but I think are useful. And I'll also, of course, research the topic. And what I do is I end up writing some headings and then a couple of lines of text or notes about them. And in this case here, I've also realised I've got more than 5 that I like. I think I had 7 when I noticed this. And nicely, 5 of the 7 just seem to fit together. Right. So I've created another new episode, 5 more iPad tips for writers, and I've chucked the 6th and 7th in there. I will make that episode. Obviously, I won't make that episode to run not next week, but the week after. I'll make sure there's a gap before we come back to iPad tips. But what I think is going to happen later today, actually, is that I will take some time to find another 3 ideas for it. Then I will write that script, and I'll probably try shooting it back to back with next week's one or the one after, whatever I'm working on next. Because when you can make 2 or more videos together, it saves a lot of the setting up time, and it's generally quicker. I think of it as like batch cooking. Yeah, it doesn't take any more time to do twice the amount of casserole that you need for tonight, and you can freeze the rest ready. But now, still on the script, I'm doing just what you would. I'm looking for a line through the 5, the best way to start and take you to some kind of conclusion. Once I've got that order, I write the script of it. The script for next week's 58 Keys, it runs to about 1,000 words, and that makes a video that will probably be about 8 minutes long. The average speaking rate for a presenter of anything is 3 words per second. 1,000 words divided by 3 and then divided by 60, that gives me about 5.5 minutes. Adding in the visuals, allowing for some room as I go off rambling, it's probably going to come in at about 7 or 8 minutes, and that works for me. That feels like a good length for that information. So now it's filming. I tend to do the main footage first. This is me talking to you. So actually, let's have a look at it. Right, there is the video, let's say, the video and the audio together of me talking with you. So if that's the video and the audio, right, then there are also gaps here where I break up with these short little video stings. And then on top of the main video and audio, there'll be screenshots like this, usually screen recording somewhere, often B-roll. And then on top of those, there'll be captions too. I tend to shoot the main footage first so that I know where to add the gaps, where to add the screen recordings, and the B-roll, where to add the captions. If I am in a hurry, if it's a 90-minute time on shoot, the reason I did it that fast was I had to. I shoot the video using this, which is teleprompter app on my iPhone 13 Pro, which means I'm using the front camera. I'm using the display. I'm looking at the green dot instead of the display, so I'm looking in the lens, but I'm using the front camera. The front camera on iPhone 13 Pro and later Pro models is officially as good as the ones on the back of iPhones, but in practice, to me, it doesn't seem like they are. So for this front camera business, it's definitely for speed, has the convenience of this teleprompter app, but when I can do longer, or when I can shoot many videos back to back, and so I'm only setting it once, well then I do this. Fit the iPhone 13 Pro to the back of this teleprompter head, copy the Omni Outliner script onto this app by the makers of that teleprompter, onto an old spare iPhone SE, slip the SE into teleprompter, fiddle quite a bit, and then also search my office for this remote control. For sound, I do prefer those smart mics. They have little Bluetooth thingies, but they are problematic. So for the moment, while I try to figure it out, I'm using this microphone positioned right under the teleprompter. I'm getting detail, and I don't want to. Not yet. I don't want to get into too much detail of exactly how this particular video is shot, because I'm trying to do it better. I'm trying to change it. But for now, that mic is plugged into that MacBook Pro. And we would be all set, except, you know that thing about the frame position? I can't see from here whether I'm in the right position or not. I can if I'm shooting with the forward camera, can't on the back. So, I mean, I might be completely out of shot for all I know. What you can do, though, is work it out through testing and then marking where should the teleprompter sit, where should your seat be, and so on, and that, I think, is the best way. But I do have an iPad, so I use that instead. It's there. I usually shoot video using Filmic Pro Legacy, and there's a Filmic Pro app, a remote app on my iPad. Use that and I can see that I'm in the position I want, and I can also tap the record button. Tap record on the separate audio as well, and away off I go. You just saw that graphic of the main video along the bottom with the gaps and things in it. Well, here it is again, and now here's exactly what it all looks like in Final Cut Pro when I finish editing. All that's left now is to upload that edited video to YouTube. Yeah, I rather glossed over the uploading bit there, because I figure if you don't already know it, well, you don't need to know it yet, and you'll figure it out when you do. It's about filling in boxes, isn't it? Saying what the video's called, when you want to go out, that kind of thing. I did also I didn't not gloss over, I jumped over the whole video editing process. Because if there are a few things I like more than video editing, well, there are a few things I think are less interesting than watching me edit. I do actually. I read books about. I read biographies of video editors. I watch videos about video editors. Actually, take a look at this one. I'll put a link in it. Walter Murch. He's not even editing here. He's just talking about film editing, and it is fascinating.
When I was at film school, a gentleman came to talk to us who was in his early 70s, younger than I am now, the director King Vidor. And he had made a documentary at the age of 18 in 1913 and was talking to us who were in our early 20s. You know, in 2 human lifetimes, this is where we have arrived at in film.
Like I say, link to everything in the show notes. Or actually, you could watch this, link for this too, how Star Wars was saved in the edit. That's an example, I think, of how the apparently technical discipline of editing, it is technical, how that is really an editorial tool, is a writing toil. Toil. That's not a bad word. It's a writing tool and toil. I must remember that. One last thing. Am I going to tell you something? I'm not going to tell you this. I've obviously started. When you do make a few videos back to back, have a change of clothes. Okay? Once I even wrote myself a proper production call sheet with things like I need this prop for that episode, I need that light for this, I need a shirt change at this time. I felt like such a producer, and it was fun. But anyway, you can see how next week's 58 Keys episode turns out, well, next week, can't you? I hope it does turn out. Well, in the meantime, however, that's it for this edition of 58 Keys and a 3 Biscuit guide to YouTube for writers. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself, write more, and I'll see you soon.